A great shaking is coming to America, and the question is, are you prepared? Are you ready for it? For January 31st, 2016, here's the headline, and I'll put the link to this article below. New Madrid earthquake could shake foundations of America. Everyone's looking to the West Coast for the big one to hit, and the earthquakes just recently are on the increase. A massive, massive number of earthquakes. Let's go to the article. Most Americans expect the next great earthquake in the United States to come on the West Coast, but what if it strikes right down the middle of the country instead? The New Madrid fault zone is 6 times larger than the San Andreas fault zone in California, and it covers portions of Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Missouri, Arkansas, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Mississippi. Back in 1811 and 1812, a series of absolutely devastating earthquakes along the New Madrid fault zone opened very deep fissures in the ground, caused the Mississippi River to run backwards in some places, and were reportedly felt as far away as Washington, D.C. and Boston. Stay tuned to my channel. I'm working on another story, and it's a phenomenon that's happening in Oklahoma, so stay tuned. I wonder if there's a connection there. They were the strongest earthquakes ever recorded east of the Rocky Mountains, and scientists tell us that it is only a matter of time before we experience similar quakes. In fact, the U.S. Geological Survey has admitted that the New Madrid fault zone has the potential for larger and more powerful quakes than previously thought, and the number of significant earthquakes in the middle part of the country has more than quintupled in recent years. Someday, perhaps without any warning, an absolutely massive earthquake will strike the New Madrid fault. Thousands of Americans will die, tens of thousands of structures will be completely destroyed, and millions of people will find themselves homeless. I need to have a sip of my coffee here. It's early and the sun is coming up behind me. Unlike on the West Coast, buildings within the New Madrid fault zone are typically not constructed to withstand major earthquakes. If we were to see the type of earthquake that we saw a little over 2 centuries ago, it would be a disaster unlike anything that any of us have ever known. The following comes from WKRN, and it describes what those earthquakes back in 1811 and 1812 were like. Can you believe that in the winter of 1811 and 1812, a series of earthquakes in northwest Tennessee shook the ground so hard that church bells rang on the East Coast and sidewalks cracked in Washington, D.C. The sitting president, James Madison, was even awakened in the middle of the night by the shaking of the White House. In Tennessee and surrounding states, the early settlers and Native American Indians were terrified by the shaking. Large fissures opened up in the ground, and some witnessed the Mississippi River appearing to flow backwards. I want to touch on this again. I'm working on another story, a phenomenon that's happening in Oklahoma, and I wonder, is this tied in? So stay tuned for that. It is believed that those quakes shook an area 10 times larger than that impacted by the 7.8 San Francisco earthquake in 1906. Some of the giant cracks that opened up in the ground were up to 5 miles long, and the stench of fire and brimstone hung. Stench of fire and brimstone hung in the air for months afterwards. Fortunately, the middle of the country was not heavily populated in 1811 and 1812, so the overall amount of damage was not that great. The following comes from Smithsonian.com. The Midwest was sparsely populated and deaths were few, but 8-year-old Godfrey Leisure saw the ground rolling in waves. Michael Brahm observed the river suddenly rise up like a great loaf of bread to the height of many feet. Sections of the riverbed below the Mississippi rose so high that part of the river ran backwards. Thousands of fissures ripped open fields, and geysers burst from the earth, spewing sand, water, mud, and coal high into the air. Needless to say, if such a disaster happened today, the damage would be absolutely catastrophic. This is something the government officials have studied, and their conclusions are rather sobering. And in a report filed in November back in 2008, the U.S. Federal Emergency Management Agency warned that a serious earthquake in the New Madrid seismic zone could result in the highest economic losses due to a natural disaster in the United States, further predicting widespread and catastrophic damage across Alabama, Arkansas, Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, Mississippi, Missouri, and particularly Tennessee, where a 7.7 magnitude quake or greater would cause damage to tens of thousands of structures, affecting water distribution, transportation systems, and other vital infrastructure. Something is happening. Looking at the water, look what's going on across the United States. Do you remember how traumatized people were when a few thousand Americans were killed on 9/11? Well, how would the country react to a disaster that killed 100,000 Americans instantly? A few years ago, the federal government held a major 5-day simulation known as National Level Exercise 11 that attempted to portray what a major New Madrid earthquake would look like. In May, the federal government, simulated an earthquake so massive it killed 100,000 Midwesterners instantly and forced more than 7 million people out of their homes. At the time, National Level Exercise 11 went largely unnoticed. Did you know about that? The scenario seemed too far-fetched. States like Illinois and Missouri are in the middle of a tectonic plate, not at the edge of one. A major quake happens there once every several generations. Could you imagine what that would mean for our nation? In addition to the human toll, financial markets would completely collapse. Key infrastructure throughout the region would be totally destroyed. The transportation on and across the Mississippi River would be brought to a standstill, according to international insurance giant Swiss Re. If the 1811 and 1812 New Madrid earthquakes were to happen today, the economic losses alone would be in the hundreds of billions of dollars. Only a little bit more. I didn't want to read the whole article, but I'm going to put the link below for you. It's a very, very important article, and I hope it will wake you up. The warning signs are all around us. In 2015, the state of Oklahoma shattered their all-time record for earthquakes in a single year, and look what's happening today. And volcanoes that were thought to be totally dormant are now erupting again all over the planet. I'm going to skip up ahead. I believe that a major New Madrid earthquake is coming. That is one of the reasons why I included such an earthquake in my novel. This person has written a novel, I guess. Those who choose to live in that region are literally sitting on the top of a ticking time bomb, and at some point it's going to blow. A great shaking is coming to America very soon. I hope that you are ready. Subscribe to my channel and leave me comments. God bless.